Good evening, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with a tropical weather outlook covering Tropical Storm Bret this evening, recorded on June 20th, 2023, recorded at around 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We have new tropical storm watches that have been issued for portions of the Lesser Antilles, including Barbados and Dominica. So let's go ahead and jump straight into everything. Taking a look at our tropical disturbance this evening, minus the blips, because that's a GOES 16 issue. But irregardless, our system actually looks somewhat better defined this evening in the satellite imagery. If we kind of pause it here, we actually notice that deep convection has once again returned very close to where the low-level circulation was. If we actually look back here at the visible satellite imagery, the low-level circulation was actually located right about here, and deep convection began to develop over top of the system. And as it has done so today, it has moved over the low-level circulation as the sun has begun to set now. However, again, the storm is still disheveled, and the deepest convection is still far away from where the low-level circulation is. So the low-level circulation is like right here, and the deepest convection is off towards the east. So this is going to allow for some gradual intensification, and we'll talk about the intensification processes here in a minute, but let's look at the track forecast. So the latest 5 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center has this storm intensifying a little bit, now up to 45 miles per hour in a pressure of 1006, located at 12.2 north and 48.6 west, moving west at 18 miles per hour. A new tropical storm watch has been issued for the island of Barbados and Dominica as well. The storm is still expected to intensify slightly further, up to a peak of around 65 miles per hour, so getting it rather close to hurricane intensity here by the time we go into Thursday evening and into early Friday morning. This then is expected to pass into the Caribbean and dissipate as a remnant tropical low here within the next 120 hours or 5 days. Last forecast point has this at 45 miles per hour at 2 p.m. on Saturday, sitting well to the south of the Dominican Republic and Haiti at this particular point. So again, tropical storm watches now for portions of Dominica, or for all of Dominica, and for Barbados as well. So our storm today has been relatively in the same environment. First of all, the low-level flow is generally around 15 knots out of the east here, from east to west. And we notice here that just aloft, you've got 25 knot winds at roughly what level? This is roughly about 850 millibars in the atmosphere. And this is telling me that 25 knot winds, and you've got 20 knot winds up here, 15 knots even. So this indicates to me that the storm is still dealing with a lot of the mid-level shear problems that it's been dealing with all day. And that's why the thunderstorms and the overall convection is tilted further away from the center of circulation. And this really is not expected to change a whole lot throughout the next several days. But if you look at the upper level representation of the environment, there's still some healthy upper level outflow with the storm, which at least in the short term will help to contribute towards somewhat lower vertical shear, at least in the upper levels. The mid-level shear, though, is more detrimental to a system because it's doing most of its work to the thunderstorms in the middle part where all that latent heat release is going on. So that it's a little bit more detrimental to these thunderstorms. But over the next several days, there is going to be at least a window of intensification. If our cyclone can develop a centralized area of convection, and if it is indeed able to, it's going to be more resilient to fighting off some of this mid-level shear and dry air entrainments from time to time. So intensification, at least in the kind of the short term, next about 48 to 50 hours or so, is possible before it starts to run into more hostile conditions. And you can see that very well represented as it starts to downpour out here. You can see that very well represented here in the HVAS forecast, where the storm does intensify slightly in the next coming days to close down to near the low 990s. And in fact, gets down there to about 990, actually sub 990 in the higher resolution there. But you can see over the next couple of days, it's going to be happening the shear begins to increase out of the west here. That's going to tilt the storm over, and that's going to disrupt the intensification process. And as this moves through into the Caribbean, which is almost a surefire bet at this point, the storm starts to lose its steam and gets choked off by a lot of that dry air and a lot of that vertical shear. So I don't see the system being a threat for much longer. Once it enters the Caribbean, it's probably going to have a relatively quick demise. So in terms of impacts go, the tropical cyclone impact risk has been updated. We'll zoom in here. So places like Barbados and over towards Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, are going to be included within this moderate threat now for tropical cyclone impact risk. This is mainly because there is still going to be the chance for some very heavy rainfall as the storm moves through, and also the subsequent potential then for a storm to pack winds closer towards hurricane force, especially in gusts. And then you have a minor threat up towards the USVI, the northern part of the island chain, southern Puerto Rico, and portions of the southern Dominican Republic. You also have a very limited risk here of impacts as you go into portions of Trinidad and Tobago. That has been one of the recent updates with this. As a result of the storm coming a little further south, there's going to be some heavier rainfall. When you take a look at that here, the rain intensity map is generally confined with the heaviest rain being closest to where the storm is expected to track, with some moderate to light rain surrounding that, some lighter precipitation, and even moderate precipitation possibilities over there in Trinidad and Tobago. But in terms of the wind speed goes, the wind speed forecast does call for tropical storm force winds to move through portions of the island chain. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, Barbados. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. These few areas that are highlighted in green, and a few other areas outside of this that are also going to be likely included in a subsequent tropical storm watch. But we are going to be monitoring this area for the potential of tropical storm force winds as we progress throughout the next couple of days. Again, generally speaking though, the winds should remain under hurricane force, but in gusts you could get winds that get to near 70 to 75 miles per hour. The overall track forecast remains in fairly good agreement that the storm is expected to move just to the north of Barbados within about the next 48 hours, and models at this point are in fairly good agreement that this will meet its demise to the south of the Dominican Republic. The outlier model at this point is the H-Wharf taking what would be a major hurricane into Puerto Rico, but at this point that's likely not going to happen, and it's very well the outlier with this system. So by all means that the storm is expected to continue to gradually intensify, more than likely over the next couple of days for about the next 48 hours or so. After that point, it gets into the Caribbean. It's going to meet its demise relatively quickly. Just also wanted to take a look at this tropical wave that is going to be coming off the coast of Africa during the next couple of days. The GFS forecast today has actually developed this into a tropical cyclone as it moves westward across the tropical Atlantic. Whether this actually happens or not remains to be seen, but it is just interesting here to the extent really that this is probably going to be something to watch as we progress forward over the next several days. We've got 3 systems on the board with Bret, 93L, and this potential new wave behind it. So with that being said, I do hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. God bless to everyone. Take care. Stay safe out there. I'll talk to you guys again some more tomorrow.